because some people asked, I'm actually going to do another video. I wasn't planning on it. I put this thing up on a shelf outside in the rec room and said, I'm not even going to look at it. but everybody's been responding beautifully, and well, most people, 99.9% of people, responding with very, very nice, encouraging words about this. Again, the whole thing was basically designed in my head and then put on the graph paper back in 1980. Yeah, I'm gonna say 1985-ish. So not quite 40 years ago, but pretty close to 40 years ago. And at the time when I was doing it, I was basically looking to build or design the shell of this entire thing and then build it for the next movie we were going to make. And I don't think I had enough pieces back then to do it, but it was a valiant effort. So this is the first time it's physically been built in the real world last week. And since I designed it on graph paper, and then took that graph paper and I imported that manually by drawing pixel by pixel, basically on the Commodore 64, a lot of cut and paste and stuff like that. But in the end, it was graph paper and then on the 64. And then I virtually built all the walls, the top part. There are some plans that show like a profile of this thing on graph paper, but in the end, it was put in a box, it was put in a shelf, it was put in a file folder and forgotten about until when I did the video a couple weeks ago. So and then I thought, maybe, well, okay, there was one time about 20 years ago I tried to MLCAD this thing and I just gave up after the wing plates, and I said, screw it, I don't want to see it, and I don't think anybody else does. So when Jeff said, hey, you should try building it, hey, why not? So, and basically the only reason why I tried building it is I wanted to see if I had the pieces now to build it. And of course, all but these hinges, and of course those is because I did the all my classic space reviews, and I used all of them in there. And of course then I built a whole bunch of 8.9.0s and everything else. So all those are used up elsewhere. I'm sure if I took apart other sets, I would get those back, but I don't want to, so I'm not going to. So, but some people were asking in the comments when I posted this on Facebook about what the interior looks like. The interior is completely void of any detail. Well, mostly completely void of any detail, because I couldn't design that in graph paper. I really couldn't. And especially 40 years ago, 38 years ago. So this is what we have for the interior right now. The front, just like the Galaxy Explorer, has a steering wheel and a console. The second one has just a console. And of course, you have to shut this one first before you can shut this one. It's just the way it is. Now, I thought about this at work today when I was thinking about this. I could redesign this front end, pull this whole thing forward just by using a 4x10 here and leaving the same gap up here. And so that would just, be able to do that. So you can't open the front one without opening this one. So I may do that because you got this gap here. The other thing, well, before I show you the rest of the interior, which is again void of any substance, is I was thinking that instead of having all these slopes all come this way, all the way down, is that at the 3 brick mark, they would go back this way. So that basically these guys would follow this 45-degree angle here, and these guys would follow this 45-degree angle here, and then this one would come back here. And I think that would set it off a little bit more than the blah it looks like right now. It's a tiny little thing, easily done. So anyway, I was thinking about that at work today. And then we have the second stage here, the second zone here that has a steering wheel and a console. This is the backup bridge, basically. And there's nothing else in here. There's nothing else in here except walkways to staircases over there and over here. You can see the staircases. And those staircases come up to this big main area. And this is where I wanted to get that thing like in Empire Strikes Back, where you have the little walkway where the guy can be standing above people, but that didn't work out so well. So this thing just slopes up to the windows, and you can see it here. The slope ends there, and that was fine. That's good enough for me. And I built that whole thing just to hold this piece up, right? So that's all the reinforcement there. So this is a raised platform. This is 4 bricks higher than the wing plates, which I liked. I didn't mind that. And they again use a lot of slopes in here. And then this slopes up here to reinforce this piece here to have some enforcement there. And then I actually have these guys here that go down to the bay, fold up, just like they did in the 6 and 985. And now you are completely segmented from the bays, which again is moderately huge. I will say that. The bay is moderately huge. And let me just get some of these guys out of the way before I start spinning this thing so we can see the bay. And the bay, basically, I just brought these things down to, so we could see a comparison in size, basically. Here's the bay. It is pretty monstrous inside. Now there's that gap underneath the last part here. There's a gap underneath, and I was planning on making that like a mini garage for the same vehicle that came in the 928. I don't know if I have one in this one. I do have one in this one. So this is the problem with having a big Chevy, you keep on hitting it. So this thing would drive up here, and you could park the vehicle because there's no antenna. It should fit right underneath those 2 little areas over there. And so that was a storage area for those little vehicles. And then the rest of the bay you could do whatever you wanted with. And what I realized, and I didn't realize that when I was designing this thing 40 years ago, is that you can have a 924, I don't know if I showed this in the other video, fit right inside. Let me just straighten that out. There we go. So a 924 fits perfectly inside. And it will close, everything will close up, blah, blah, blah. And then it comes to the front, and you can see it in the front there. So it holds one 924 in the storage bay. It will not hold a 928, obviously, but it holds a 924, and you can see it through the glass. And you can see close the engines here, and now you're carrying on a 924 in the bay. I didn't realize that when I designed it, that the whole geometry, and basically my whole design 40 years ago was all about geometry and going basically the steps of 2. This is 2, this is 2, and that is, well, 2 when you include this piece from here to here. It's 2 wider, so it goes from 6 to 10 to 14 to 20, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, yeah, 26, yeah. So it leaps up by 4 studs wider every iteration. And I didn't realize this, I guess, good enough, and I don't know why. I have to go look at my plans again. I wanted this piece, this gray piece, to be underneath the blue, and yet here it's half exposed. That bothers me a little bit because the whole plan was to have that to be completely this end of the gray here would be underneath the blue, and it's not. And I'm not going to worry about it too much. I think the original plan was to have these windows over that gap there, and so I don't know what happened. The plans show exactly this. I think the original plan was to have this gap equal to this window, which means, I could do it just by moving the gap back and making these wings wider and these wings less wide. I don't know, I'm not going to do that. I like the wings as they are. I think basically it's the only thing that I really, really, really like about this entire ship. The rest of it I like. I'm not going to say it's bad. It looks too big, too bulky, too meh, too undesigned. Well, not undesigned, too monotone. But the wing, this gap here, I think is really, really cool. So I'm going to keep that. The other thing I was thinking about at work today is if I basically know that I built the thing from the plans that I made 40 years ago, if I unbuild it and build it again with quote unquote modern ways of building, I make like a doorway here, or here, somewhere in here, get like a moon-based corridor doorway going on there to get inside this thing. Because again, in universe, the only way you're getting inside this thing is through the back. Because, excuse me, and maybe up here you just climb in, but you know, so I would have like a doorway and stairs up to this platform up here, which would take space away from the actual platform. But I don't know. It's one of those things I think about. Maybe I could put it up here more. I don't know how much more work I want to put into this thing. The whole idea was to actually see it from together from the plans that I had, and I did that. And so, what more do I want to do with this thing? I'll show you one more thing. I'm gonna just come over here. I'm gonna put the phone down right there on a nice bird's eye view of this thing. Oops. I want to give you this. All right. Stop moving, phone. So here's a little something that I should have expected. So people might remember my 4x8 and 4x4 wing plate bin was pretty much heaping full before I started this project. Now there's hardly anything left in it. so yes, that thing did take a lot of those wing plates. It really did. Obviously it did. I don't know. I'm just going to keep it on the shelf for a while to see if I want to do anything else with it. I'm going to not take it apart right now. I will say that I'll have to do something because 8 of these windows belong in the layout. So I have to do something because I have to get, if I do a show, I need those windows in the layout. But other than that, there's no other pieces in here that I really need. And so I don't mind the idea of keeping this thing together. The problem is that it is big, and there's only one place to really store it in this house right now, and that's on top of our bookshelf in the rec room, because it can't stay in the leg room. There's no place for it in the leg room where it can stay together. I'll close that. I'm sure I actually thought about this. I'm sure I can fit one 924 in there. I can probably fit 2 918s in there. I didn't try. The other thing is some people were saying the remarkable lack of actual thrusters in this thing. Yes, that is 100% true. I got 6 on the main body, and then 8, 10, 11, 12 thrusters in the back. Again, they're all original non-10 497 thrusters. It's just completely ripped off of the Beta 1 and the X1. This one slightly different, but basically the same. You know, that's what I had back then. I didn't think about using those wonderful plastic tires. And I don't think those plastic tires existed until like M-Tron. When you really come to think about it, I don't think did those plastic tires come out before M-Tron? I'm trying to think because they didn't show up in Blacktron, the first Blacktron. So I think they show up in M-Tron, and then people started using them as rockets, and they were in the back of the original ISD. That guy down there, right there. So, but you know, it is what it is. This is what I designed when I was in my teenage years. If I were to, if people might recall, again, I mentioned it before, I entered into September once a few years back, Simon Liu's fantastic September thing, and I made LL Destiny, which was, I think, one of my favorite builds, except it was just too big, too bulky, and too much to do. But it also held 928s and 918s. It didn't have any 924s on it, which was actually shocking. But it had 928s, 4 of them, and it could hold, I think, 9 or 10 918s around the ring. 9, exactly 9. Was it more 9? Maybe, I don't know. I can't remember now. But that was a fun build. It was just too big. No, I could hold 18. I could hold 18 918s. But anyway, that's irrelevant. It was a fun build. I did it. It was 6.5 feet long. a little crazy big, and um, and I really enjoyed that one. I would say I enjoyed building LL Destiny physically more than I enjoyed building this thing. I did not enjoy building this. I did have fun building this thing. I had lots of fun trying to read and understand my own writing and my own plans that I had all those years ago. So that was the joy that I had. But in the end, I think for myself, and this is just for me, that this thing is from a period of time and classic space, my classic space build, um, that has passed, and it's a little out of place now in the 21st century, and that's just kind of odd to say, but I really do think just by looking at that, even in comparison to that to those guys over there, which came out in 1978, this compared to that, um, there is some charm here, some nostalgic ideas here, but in the end, it was executed as best as it could be, because again, I wanted to follow the instructions to the letter, and overall I did. But it is a ship out of time. It doesn't hold up. Maybe if I built it 38 years ago, when I was a teenager, because again, I had the design in my head and on paper. If I built it back then, I would appreciate it more now. But the fact that I did build it now, and I'm looking at it right now. Now, I will also say this, quote unquote, and this is what they do in house hunting. It has good bones. Straight up, it has good bones. And if I was more than willing to put the effort into it, this thing could be extraordinary. I think. I can think of like at least 5 things right off the top of my head that would make this thing extraordinary. I just don't want to do it. I honestly don't want to do it. I'm looking at it, and I have other things I want to do with my Lego collection right now, including just finishing sorting that guy there and a few other things. But this was a tangent in my life, shocking, and because I found those paperworks, and my good friend said, just build it and see what happens. And I did. And there was a lot of enjoyment there. But in the end, when I'm looking at this thing, it's very, very odd for me. There was a few, let's put it this way. My time on Lugnet a bunch of years ago, and people would build classic space creations back there and post them on Lugnet. And I was just enthralled by them. Not just the Chris and Mark stuff, but whoever was posting in classic space and building these beautiful, beautiful, great big ships. And this is well before Shiptember. This is before all the other stuff. But back in Lugnet days, but even now, if you go into the Lego classic space groups, people occasionally post something big, and it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And I'm looking at this in comparison to that stuff, and that's probably the problem. Had I built this back in 1985, when nobody else was doing this, as far as I knew, besides me and my buddies, I would have had a lot more nostalgia attributed to the physical build, not just the build on paper, the virtual build on paper. So I'm not explaining myself very well, I don't think, but I do look at this and I say, honestly, I say meh. It is meh. It has some charm. It's not a Netzel. It's definitely not a Netzel, but it's not a Mustang. It's not a Porsche. It's not a whatever. I feel more comfortable about, I in my head, I felt more comfortable. I would have felt more comfortable displaying my 6.5 foot classic spaceship that I entered in Shiptember a few years ago, more than I want to display this. This thing is just a big, bulky bag of blue and gray. And again, as I say, you don't have to say anything about, Dave, it's great. I think it's cute. It has some good bones to it. It has some good structure to it. It has some good concepts to it. But in the end, the straight migration from the plan to the ship, the straight migration, was a mistake. I should have, although it would have been hard to do, I should have modified the plans and changed them up The rockets in the end are way too small. It's too bulky and just big boxes all the way back. The wing plate, I think, is fantastic, and other people have said the same thing. I really do like the wing plate, but and the gap really does set it off. I that's that. So let's just go back to this, back to 1985 ish. That was the main impetus of building this thing, and so I started with because the original Dark Dude-mobile had some gaps along the wings because it was the save because I didn't have a lot of grade plates. So it was the same grade plates that had the gaps there, and also to hold it because you can hold it better if there's gaps between the blue and the gray. So you can get underneath, grab underneath. But mostly because I didn't have enough grade plates to fill the whole wing plate in. So the whole wing thing, and that took off because this is right here. That's a tribute to the first one, that little gap there. But I also wanted to do this, and I can't remember exactly what I was watching at the time. Probably some sort of science fiction or something, where it was like a V wing, whatever, and it had the gap after the edge of the wing, the leading edge of the wing, or maybe it was painted or whatever. So I wanted that. And the best way for me to facilitate that was, and again, I did do this. I grabbed 6 or 8 wing plates, and I did build this area to see if it would actually work. And it did. And the problem is I didn't have a lot of wing plates back then. As I say, there's at least 37. I think there's a lot more each side. I mean, this is 2 all the way down. It's 2, 4, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So that's 40 right there. Sorry, this thing has lots of wing plates. So that's 20, that's 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 52, 54, 56, 58, 60, 62, 64, 66, 68, 70. So that's 70 wing plates there. 72, 74, 76, 78. 78 4x8 wing plates. Oh, 80. I forgot about that. So that's 80 wing plates in this thing. There's no way I had 80 wing plates. There's zero way I had 80 wing plates back in 1985. I could have built maybe 2.5, 3 Galaxy Explorers. And they have 8 wing plates each. Let's see. So I got that right? Yeah. 2, 4, 6, 8. So I would have needed 10 Galaxy Explorers back then just to get enough wing plates to build that thing. Now, again, in my years of collecting, I happen to have a whole bunch of wing plates, including, what's left in this bin. And so, so I'm not doing too bad. And I looking at the screen right now on my phone when it's filming this, and I'm going, it has some charm. I don't want people to see I'm ragging on this thing. I'm not. I'm very, very happy I built it. I'm very, very happy that I got to build something that I had thought about back when I was a teenager. It reminded me of Lego Wars. It reminded me of what Pete and Jake and I did, and how much fun we had, and the history of, going back to my basic roots in Lego. Like 1978, I got this guy right here, right? I got that guy. I got him in 1978, which led to all of this, right? It led to that guy. So, and that's the other thing. So again, I'm not a prolific builder. I'm also not a modern type builder. I'm also not a very, very detailed builder. I'm a brick on top of brick all the way up to the top builder. But that thing has a lot more charm, a lot more sophistication, a lot more whatever. Of course, I had 30 more years of experience of building before I built that, right? From 15 to 35 or 45 I guess, no, that thing's gonna be 15 years old now, 40. So 35 years of building experience. And again, I never had a dark ages, so I've always been building and experimenting and goofing around with Lego through my 20s and 30s and 40s, obviously. That, of course, that over there is going to be yards and miles above this guy, because this guy was designed when I was 15, right? That thing was designed when I was 45 or 40. This is when I was 15. So there is a world of difference. And yet, let's also be honest about it, you can see it in the same universe. Because I will not let this universe go. This is my favorite part of the classic space or space Lego universe. This right here is my favorite part. Again, just like I'm not saying that this thing's a Netzel, this thing has some charm. I love all the space themes. I love all of them. You can see I did reviews on every single one of them up until RoboForce. I'll get there. But I have basically sets from every line. I don't think I'm fully complete in the newer ones, the Mission to Mars and RoboForce. Well, no, that's in RoboForce. Of course, I got all RoboForce. The mission, anything that came out after 2010. I don't have complete the trans orange, the white, and the orange ships. I don't know if that's Mars missions or missions to Mars with the transparent green aliens. And then there was the other one that came up before that, Mars missions with the pipe. Actually, I don't think both of them have pipes, but I don't think I'm complete in those guys. I really don't think I'm complete in those guys, and I don't care. and then Galaxy Squad, I'm definitely not complete in that, but I do have some, and I did buy them purposely because I love space sets. But this is my childhood. And from 11 to 20, when I was hardcore and still playing with Lego and still a kid to play with Lego. And then when I came to 20s, I didn't buy, well, I guess I kept them, I can't say this, I did buy new sets off the shelf, but I acquired most of my sets in the secondhand market since then. And again, you guys all know this, my whole focus when I do buy Lego now is to find Lego with classic space sets in it, classic space pieces in it. And so when I come across a lot like this, and actually I was building this thing when we walked into Valley Village, and I say, oh, this thing has a 4x10 light gray 6x10. Of course I'm going to be using that when I need it. And this one has some more. Yeah, so I got this one because it had that piece in it, right? And of course there's that helmet in here right there. That I absolutely love, but that's not classic space, but it's close enough. So, but I left, let me get back up here. I left 9 other bags on the shelf, 9 other bags of Lego on the shelf because they didn't have any old gray or any classic space that I could see. It had a lot of Friends colors, a lot of newer pieces. I said, no, and a lot of non-Lego pieces. I'm not going to buy those. Leave those in the past. I would have bought all of them, but I know I'm tired of sorting. Straight up, I'm tired of sorting, and I'm tired of I don't have enough room in my room anymore to bring in lots more pieces. So I am trying to severely curtail pieces coming into this room. This has emptied and lowered a lot of my totes of blue, which is fantastic. So I can actually now fit more. But again, if I take this apart, I have to put the pieces somewhere. So anyway, that's a whole other tangent. I am happy I built it. I'm not going to say, hey, this was a waste of my time. No, it was absolutely not a waste of my time. And a lot of people have enjoyed it, which is also awesome. And when I do get around to it, so this is a little thing that I've been thinking about. I'm going to put my feet up here for a second because I'm just getting to that kind of mood right now. So I'm going to put my feet up there. When I do get around to it, and probably going to be midwinter when Sandy and Josh are on a trip somewhere or out of the house for a couple hours, I am going to push all the furniture in the living room to the corners and the side walls, and I'm going to get out my 4 or 5 totes of space sets, and I'm going to put them all out there in some sort of arrangement, including all those guys up there. Oh, sorry, up there and all the way up there. Oh, look, there's the man. Oh, I love that guy. I'm so glad I got him back together. He really is a really, really seriously cool set. But again, I got those guys over there, right? And I got that's some pieces, some more behind there that you can't see. Oh, and so here's something really, really quick, by the way. So this is Benny's second spaceship that showed up in Lego Movie 2. My friend just brought that over to me because I used up all mine to build these guys. As you can see, that piece is there. And I said, oh, I should have bought more when they were on deep discount at Toys R Us. But we bought this for Josh a while back, and the box has just been sitting here because Josh didn't build it, and I did not realize, ta-da, I got another one. So I can build more 918s, more of my version of the 918s and the 6890. Where is that guy? Oh, he's already packed for the show. But anyway, so now I have another source for that big ugly wing piece. Boob, not burp, boop. I love Lego fans. Anywho, I think I'm gonna wrap this up half an hour. If you guys want more details about that guy, just let me know. I will make a video or something else. But in the interim, he's gonna go back on the shelf, and I'm gonna forget about him for a while because I do want to get into other stuff right now and do some more TikToks about things I'm interested in. And this ain't it at this point. I'm going to let it simmer. That's another point. I'm going to let it simmer for a while. I'm going to revisit it in a while, and we'll go from there. But right now, this guy is done as he's going to be, and he's going to go up on the shelf. And that's it. I will talk to you guys soon. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm not going to go off on some other personal tangents right now because I just talked 30 minutes about this thing. But I do wish everybody is doing well out there, and I appreciate you. And know that life is progressing and everything is good. I'll talk to you guys soon.